All right, welcome to Young Turks live coverage at the DNC. Okay, I don't want to be too loud. All right, Laurie Penny's joining us. Laurie Penny wrote the best article I've read in a long time. How's that for an introduction? And it's called "I'm with the Band." It was on Medium, or at least where I read it. Laurie, she's an author and journalist from the UK, and it was about her time spent with high-profile trolls.
Yep.
These are people who that's their job. They're professional trolls. And I want to talk to you about what you wrote in the article. I also want to get a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
Okay. But first, now that I've said it out loud a couple times, I'm with the band. Is it I'm with the band play or I'm with the damned play?
I don't know. It wasn't my title. It was you picked the one line in that piece I didn't write.
Oh, okay. Then we're past it immediately. Okay.
To ask my editor.
For the people at home who did not read it, although they should, and we'll provide a link in the description box. What's it about?
So it's about this big gay Republicans for Trump party, which was held at the DNC about a week ago today, and I got a VIP invite from Milo Yiannopoulos, who organised the thing, who is a professional alt-right troll dude who are I wouldn't call us friends or even really frenemies, but we know each other. And he found out I was going to be at the DNC, and I said, hey, you're going to be there? And he said, yeah, you should come to my big gay fascist rally and write about it.
So let's break that down a little bit. That guy, we don't mention his name on there because that's the only thing he cares about.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's what the article's about. That's okay, and it was a great article. Sure. And so I'm just going to call him Nemo, So you found Nemo.
Yeah, I did find Nemo.
But what I was not 1,000% clear on was everyone at the party gay Republicans, or is it just that he's a gay Republican or gay conservative, or it was thrown by a cadre of gay conservatives, but it was other conservatives who were like, oh, they're gay and we're cool with it, and let's just go be trolls together.
Well, look, it was people who have hijacked the vague idea of LGBT rights and yoinked it onto this Islamophobic, racist, anti-liberal, anti-feminist agenda they have, and decided that's their thing now. Gay rights is sort of their thing, although they had some really bad things to say about transgender bathrooms. But yeah, there were people there. I talked with another guy, a professional troll there, who started getting into a serious argument with me because I said that it was okay for gay people to adopt, which didn't seem to be on message. Nobody was really on message. Whereas here, everyone's on message, or that's what they have.
Yeah, but that's partly as you described in the article, because there is no message. The message is irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is attention. That's their only currency. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, and they are very similar to Donald Trump in that way. That's what wins in this kind of political climate. We have moved past the point where making reasonable arguments in a very sensible way has any emotional pull anymore, and I kind of understand that. But the left has no real equivalent of these people who, they just don't care about anything. I don't know if he believes half of the things he says. I don't know if anybody there. No, actually, I think about half of them do. Some of them do, and that's really frightening because they're very gullible, and they will follow anybody who has good hair and a nice way of putting things and promises them power. But it's a really, really frightening tendency.
Yeah, so since their currency is attention, it is totally irrelevant whether it's good attention, bad attention, whether they win the argument, or whether they even care about their own argument, or whether they even know their own argument.
No, they just say whatever they think is going to play best.
Right.
Like Trump. He just says whatever he thinks is going to play best with his vote. He's not got an agenda. His agenda is Donald Trump for president. That's the only thing he believes. And that makes him more dangerous than a lot of people out there, even in his own party.
So my sense with Nemo and his cadre is that they found a niche. They're like, oh, if we're gay and we're super right-wing, people will be like, oh, that's interesting.
That's a weird new thing. Yeah, let's run with that. And then we can be kind of super fabulous and hang around with bodyguards and, it's all theater. It's a cabaret act. But what's fascinating is that Americans don't seem to get it in the same way. There is this sincerity to American culture. To anybody British, even if you don't know the guy from before, it's instantly obvious what's going on. Like, it's completely obvious. And I was just stunned by how many people really think that he's serious and that some of the other people there are serious. It's just, no, it's obviously a show. There's much more of that kind of performative jousting in British political culture. I don't like it. But it is a really big part of the discourse.
So I want to get back to the serious part of that and why that's a big problem in a second. But yes, there's an earnestness here in America where they're legitimately getting into a debate with them. I'm going to mix a whole bunch of analogies here, but so it's as if the rest of the reporters or the people in the media think that they're in a wrestling match, but in reality, these trolls think that they're in a violence match. And as a reporter just told me, it's as if they're suicide bombers. And so you can't win a fight with a suicide bomber because he's going to blow you up either way because his goal is different than your goal. Your goal is to wrestle him to the ground. His goal is to blow you up. So he wins whether you win or not.
I mean, there is a lack of moral center to these people, which is really quite terrifying. And not that I think that any moral center is necessary. You know, I believe you have to have the right kind of compass and actually care about human beings and kindness and fairness and equality. But the lack of belief, I find almost more frightening because it can be directed anywhere. And of course, we've seen exactly the same thing in the UK just now with Brexit, with Boris Johnson, with Nigel Farage, with all these people who are professional trolls and whose agenda is their own advancement at any cost. They will say anything. They will lie. They have no impunity. They lie and lie, and it's never them that loses out.
So, one more thing before we get into who's worse in this sad state of affairs, which is the insincerity of it. Because I think that a lot of their followers think that they are sincere.
Oh yeah.
And they think like, oh no, you guys are being totally unfair, typical left, regressive, whatever, all the things that they're going to throw at us, right? But like they don't get it that the joke's on them because you were in the car when he got banned from Twitter, and so you would think that if he was serious about this, that he'd be outraged at
my freedom of speech.
And the violation. And in fact, a lot of his supporters, who I actually think are earnest, totally misguided, but earnest, which in some way I respect more, think like they are truly outraged. Oh my God, there's a freedom of speech issue, etc. Meanwhile, what was his reaction when he found out?
He said he's delighted. He said it's the end of the platform, darling. No, I'm delighted. It's great news, great publicity. I'm here in front of all the world's cameras. He was thrilled. The entire team was thrilled. Of course he was.
Yeah.
Of course he was.
So you think that he's hurt by it? No, it's attention. He couldn't have been happier. And like, does he care about freedom of speech in that context? No. It's like, this is as good a news as I could have hoped for.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like when people go out to protest Donald Trump. He loves it. He doesn't care. It's just more attention.
So that's because Donald Trump is the king of the trolls. He took it to a macro level, a meta level. You know, he's almost taken over the country as a professional troll. And when you look at it that way, you realize, okay, well, they think, look at him. I mean, look at all the success he's gotten by being, as soon as I said king of the trolls, of course, I thought of Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
King of the trolls! King of the trolls!
But
right?
winter is coming.
Yes, but winter is coming. So let's talk about winter for a second. Who are you more scared by? The guys who don't believe anything, don't have any empathy, and so guys like Nemo and others that are they're a little bit like sociopaths. I mean, and Trump's, the main ghostwriter for Trump on Art of the Deal, he said if he had to redo it and rename the book, he would call it Sociopath, right? And so that's pretty scary when you have no empathy for other human beings, or the guys who are true believers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But I think the people who are true believers are much, much easier to predict. The hollow, madly firing trolls are much, much scarier because they will do or say anything, and particularly if they have that massive lack of empathy. We have trolls on the left, of course, but they tend to come with an inconvenient conscience attached. It's kind of, They are much, much more frightening, and that is the discourse that's taken on. Meanwhile, on the left, people are burdened by so much principle that they can't compromise on anything at all. The right, we've seen in the UK, they are very, very good at getting their shit together, and uniting behind one person, whatever they think, because it's more important to them to be in power.
So, there is a reasonable middle ground, which is to be able to have a sense of humor about things and to, not take yourself so seriously, which a lot of the left does. And, we try to push past that. But the problem is that if you try to have a sense of humor with the right, they don't, there is no, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. If you try to, treat them with a little bit of oh, hey, how you doing? They're like, all right, great. This allows me to take over everything and blow things up. Yes. You made a terrible error by allowing me into your house.
Yep. Right? Yeah, which is why I don't hang out socially with these people. I chose to go to this thing because I got invited, but most things that I don't like that aspect of British culture in particular, which is all buddy-buddy, because we're all part of the same media game anyway, we're all the establishment. I think that is poisonous. I try to avoid it.
So that's exactly right, and that gets me to what I mentioned earlier, which is the dangerous part of this, because it's not a game.
Yep.
So there are two things that I worry about. One is lone lunatics. You listen to a guy, look, I'll just say his name for now.
Yeah.
I don't want to emphasize it, but Alex Jones, right? So here's a guy who deals in conspiracy theories on a regular basis. Sandy Hook was a false flag operation. Harry Reid had all those kids killed. Whatever insane things they believe, right? So now if you're following religiously, that means you have self-selected a group of people who are the most paranoid people in the country. There's a conspiracy everywhere. They're also heavily, heavily armed. And then they don't know that Alex is in it for the attention, doesn't really care, and will lie about anything and everything. So he does this stunt with us. Again, I made the mistake of saying hi for a second. I certainly didn't invite him in. He just burst in. I said, hey, Alex, I shook his hand. Oh, there it is. Now he's taking over the show. He's putting on his propaganda. He's being assaultive, all this stuff, right? Okay. But afterwards, he says, I've been on a show 10 or 50 times. See, that's such a easy, he's so easy with that lie that it makes you think, wow, this guy has no conscience. That is such an easily verifiable thing. He's been on the show once, a couple of years ago when I was on Current TV. Anyone can look it up. But he lies with such great ease. Okay, but he's doing it for a show, and his fans don't know it.
Yeah.
He's they're watching professional wrestling, but they think it's real.
But then they will go out and fight.
But they're armed, and they're paranoid, and they think it's real. So that's one part of the danger. Are you worried about that? And when you wrote the article, was there a lot of blowback from that crowd?
Oh yeah, I'm a left-wing anarchist feminist writer. I get blowback if I post about my dinner. These people come after me with porno, awful stuff every day. But I am deeply frightened of it. Yeah, I think it is a really frightening trend, and dismissing it as just trolls. There's no such thing as just trolls anymore. It's the mainstream now. It's really worrying.
Yeah, because they might be in it for the glamour, like Nemo and the fabulous hair and all this stuff. But their fans don't know that it's a show. They really think it's real. And
it doesn't matter what's in the hearts of the leaders. If the fans think it's real, the harm they do is real. Because people will say to you, oh, this person he's so nice in real life. He's a sweetheart. He doesn't mean any of it. It doesn't matter that he doesn't mean any of it. People say this to me about Donald Trump. I went to this Women for Trump event. They were like, oh, he's so nice, really. But it doesn't matter. He's whipping up armies of racists. So that goes to the final part of this, which I view to be the greatest danger, because this is when Andrew Breitbart died, and he was a provocateur, and he was a great one, and he was on my show a couple of weeks before he passed away, and we had this discussion back and forth, and at one point he admitted in one of the last stunt that he had done that he was trying to get a rise out of people, that he didn't really mean it. Mm-hmm. And you can go back and look at that interview. He doesn't say it word for word, but it is fairly obvious that at one point he goes, come on, man, I'm trying to get a rise out of him, right? So, but the problem was that it wasn't a game. No.
And because, for example, when they get people riled up against the Syrian refugees, These poor people are running from ISIS.
Yeah.
Their families have been butchered sometimes. They've risked their lives. They've risked their kids' lives coming across the Mediterranean.
Yep.
I mean, they have now some of the same guys call ISIS Nazis. They're running from the Nazis, according to your own analogy.
You can't tell the difference between the people doing the bad stuff and the people running from those people, because they all look the same to you.
And so when the Nemos and the Joneses of the world rile people up, and they think it's cute and funny, but it has real life consequences, because then people actually do policy based on that. There's polling on it, and there's, and Donald Trump, Donald J. Troll as we sometimes call him, couldn't be more real. He's as real as a heart attack. He's got about a 50% chance of winning the presidency, in which case he would implement those policies. And then it's not fun and games anymore, because you've heard a ton of people. I just gave one example, but you can give thousands of examples of how people would be hurt in the real world.
Yeah, no, it's really, really frightening, and these people seem to believe that the only thing that matters is what you feel deep inside and who you are as a person. I think it's that, like Dumbledore says, is that you're judged by your actions. I think people should be judged by what they do rather than just how they are inside. It matters how you act on the world. These people seem to think that there is no human consequence, or if they do, they just don't care.
Yeah, and that is deeply problematic. So I wish we had a real debate, because the last part of it that's problematic is I want to talk to conservatives. For 20 years that I've been in this business, I've talked on air with countless conservatives. And that's the debate I want to go back to. I want to take money out of politics. I want to go back and forth and have a real honest debate. But trolls ruin the debate. And so then you're afraid to have any conservative on, because they're going to throw a bomb. And then they're not honest. All they want to do is grab attention and not have an earnest debate. So they think it's cute, but it has all these consequences that are unfortunate, and they can giggle about it, maybe because a lot of them are 16 years old. But those refugees aren't giggling. People that you throw off of food stamps who desperately need it for their kids aren't giggling, etc. But look, I want you guys to read Laurie's article. Like I said, we'll have the link below for wherever we put this up, because it's not just the substance that we just talked about. The details of their indifference are interesting, and honestly, your writing was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for joining us,
Thanks
Laurie.
for
Really
having me on the
appreciate
show.
it. Yes.